Hi guys, it's Chloe Kiefer from Evolve Lab, here with another video about generative design for you. Today we're going to hear from Ben about some of the different products that are out there that are currently being marketed as generative design tools.
This is a very popular buzzword at the moment, and it can mean so many different things. But I want to touch on how others are using generative design and how, kind of from a marketing point of view, they are classified or attributing this name to their product. So what we have in front of us is kind of like this branch, and you could see all the different kind of branches and some of the different products that are out there that are pretty popular that use this terminology. So if you look at the top, we have McNeil Associates that provide Rhino and Grasshopper, and you could see how via Grasshopper you could have Galapagos and Wallasai. So Grasshopper, you could pretty much visually code your relationships, but then you can have certain parameters that are variable inputs. With Galapagos and Wallasai, it actually uses something called a genetic algorithm, or other people will call it an evolutionary solver, and that evolutionary solver goes through these options and these inputs and outputs and has some kind of intelligence on how those inputs affect the outputs. If you look at Autodesk, the same way Dynamo is to Autodesk Revit, it's the same way Grasshopper behaves with Rhino. So Dynamo is really the code where you're setting up your ingredients and what the inputs and outputs, but the generative design tool is pretty much a evolutionary solver that uses a genetic algorithm to run through all the inputs in your Dynamo script. So what it actually does is it actually opens Dynamo like quite a few times on different threads on your computer, and it runs that script with different inputs basically. If we look at Hypar, it's pretty much a shell where you could do all these different things. All these different platforms could find themselves in this cloud platform, and it's more of a shell for all these things, but under the understanding that by combining all these different algorithms, and if you want to have an evolutionary solver, you combine that, you could pretty much generate options. If we look at Testfit, that one actually does not at the moment use an evolutionary solver, but it's still kind of classified under this generative design umbrella because it generates design based on your inputs. So it doesn't actually need an evolutionary solver, which they're actually really slow, these solvers, because it tests a bunch of different scenarios. It actually just uses a set of rules that are and algorithms that are very intentionally programmed so that you have an interface that is very snappy and you get very immediate return on the inputs that you put. The other tool that's been kind of out there that people have looked at is Finch 3D, and that one is based on using Rhino and Grasshopper. And that tool, I don't know at the moment if they actually use an evolutionary solver, but it does use a robust set of rules and tools and algorithms that actually takes in the input and generates something out of it. And so we could see how this label of generative design is actually a moving target. But right now, at the moment, it's being attributed to a few different things. But I do want to point out that a lot of these things are, in the past, they have been labeled or have been classified and spoken about as evolutionary solvers, and not just that, beyond that.